Before the bold evangelism, healing crusades, and national spiritual unity, there was a boy, fatherless before his teenage years, wrestling with hardship, but dreaming of missions. He walked a road filled with divine encounters, terrible losses, repeated threats, and yet he kept preaching. This is the story of Reverend Dr. Ukpai, a man tested by fire, yet used by God to shape Nigeria's Christian landscape. He was born January 7, 1945, in Asaga, Ohafia, in Abia State. His father died when he was about 10 years old, and later his mother, leaving him orphaned, which forced young Uma into early maturity, self-reliance, and compassion for the poor. He knew what it means to save to go to school, but even in his pain, grace was already writing a story. In 1958, after attending a crusade in Elisha, Uma gave his life to Christ. But his walk with God was not paved with ease. As a student, he was mocked, rejected, and often hungry. Yet, in those lonely years, he learned to fast, to pray, and to believe. Little public record exists of ministry in his youth, but his spiritual sensitivity manifested early. While in school one day, a strange madman named Deco once invaded the school compound, sending students and teachers running in fear. But young Uma, trembling yet filled with faith, heard a quiet voice say, "Command him to leave." With childlike boldness, he looked at the madman and declared, "Roll out of this school." And to everyone's astonishment, the madman dropped to the ground and rolled out. It was the first public sign that this young boy carried a different fire. His early ministry began not on a pulpit, but in secret, fasting for days, preaching in classrooms, and holding revival meetings that drew the attention of heaven. Then came the day that would test everything he believed. Uma had been fasting for 7 days when a strange man approached him and said, "You will have 8 children, but 2 will die in an accident." Uma rebuked him, yet the prophecy would unfold years later. In 1985, tragedy struck. His children were returning home with their cousin when their car veered off the road into a river. Without thinking, Uma jumped in to save them. His wife, who could not swim, jumped in after him. He managed to rescue her, but 2 of their children drowned. Grief pierced his heart, yet even in that pain, his faith would not die. Moments later, as he placed the lifeless bodies of his children in a car and began to pray, another vehicle rammed into them. His band's 50-seater bus also caught fire the same day. It was chaos, though being a man empowered for miracles, he couldn't bring his children back to life. It was then he remembered God's earlier words to him, "I won't answer your prayers now. I want to test your love for me." And so, through tears, he said, "Lord, even if you slay me, I will still serve you." That day, Uma Ukpai passed a test few men ever face. His faith was no longer built on miracles, but on love. His ministry took him across Nigeria and the world, but not without opposition. Once, a group of native doctors' sons were hired to assassinate him. They confessed later that every time they aimed at him, their hands trembled, and they saw fire around him. At another time, he faced threats from a sitting Nigerian president who demanded that he stop preaching messages that offended the government. Ukpai refused, saying, "If God sent me, let him defend me." And God did. During a crusade in northern Nigeria, a Boko Haram militant once pointed a gun at him, but the trigger jammed repeatedly. The crowd gasped, the militant dropped the weapon and ran. Ukpai simply lifted his hands and said, "You cannot shoot a man who is not yet finished." He often spoke of his heavenly encounters. He said he had been to heaven twice. The first time, he claimed God told him, "You came too early. Go back, you still have 34 more years to preach." He protested, but the Lord insisted. That encounter renewed his passion, and he returned with a fire that would birth revival across Africa. Over 6 decades of ministry, Reverend Ukpai preached in stadiums filled with multitudes. His crusades were marked by mighty healings, salvation, and deliverance. He established the Ukpai Evangelistic Association, the Ukpai Polytechnic, and Ukpai College of Theology, training ministers, empowering widows, and building faith infrastructures across Nigeria. Behind his miracles was a man acquainted with sorrow, yet anchored in love. He lost children, faced threats, stood before guns, and battled pain, but he never stopped preaching hope. He once said, "Faith is not tested in comfort, but in crisis." God must trust you with pain before he can trust you with power. Today, his legacy burns, and reminds us that true greatness is born not from ease, but endurance. He taught a generation that the anointing is not a gift to the strong, but a reward to those who refuse to quit. He was a warrior, a teacher, a man of tears, and a general of faith. He proved that no fire can kill a flame lit by God. He taught that the gospel must speak to every dimension of life. In life and death, Reverend Ukpai remained a vessel of purpose, and God's fire still burns in every life he touched. He proved that God raises ordinary men to carry extraordinary burdens. His life whispers to this generation, "Let the gospel rise, the church unite, and the broken be healed." This is put together by Zion Models, Revival Fire Legacies. Subscribe for more awakening stories.